Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hello, everyone. Just a reminder, please silence cell phones if you have them with you. Lorenda, may we have roll call?
Good evening, Council. I'll start with you, Mayor Bain.
Here.
Councillor Gurrell.
Here.
Councillor Lundstrom.
Here.
Councillor Scalise. Councillor Sherman.
Here.
Councillor Spradlin.
Here.
Councillor Straub.
Here. We've all had a chance to take a look at the regular meeting minutes from March 8th. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the minutes as submitted?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Allison. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Councillor Sherman.
Yes.
Councillor Straub.
Yes.
Councillor Lundstrom.
Yes.
Councillor Spradlin.
Yes.
Councillor Gurrell.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes.
And then I'll just stay up here.
Pardon me?
I'll just stay up here for now.
Oh, that's a good, okay. We also have minutes for the special meeting on March 15th. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes?
Tiny one.
Okay.
Just and I are flip-flopped on the go-to meeting attendance, but nothing important.
Okay. We'll note that. Okay, with that, do I have a motion to approve the minutes as corrected?
So moved.
Justin motions for that. Do I have a second?
Second.
Dana, second. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Councillor Lundstrom.
Yes.
Councillor Spradlin.
Yes.
Councillor Gurrell.
Yes.
Councillor Straub.
Yes.
Councillor Sherman.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes. Okay, moving on to visitors and delegations. We don't have anyone scheduled. Is there anyone that would like to publicly comment tonight? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to management number 5. First order of business is public hearing ordinance number 883-21. Rick Caroglian just stepped out for a second. We'll give him 1 minute to step back in.
Impeccable. I got 8811.
Yeah, I have 88121. Perhaps it's a typo in the agenda because the title of the provision matches for 881-21.
Is there 2 on here? 883.
Put one, oh no.
Yeah, I think it's mistyped. It should be 881-21.
On the ordinance number?
On
Yeah.
the agenda, the ordinance number should be 881-21.
Okay.
Or else the ordinance numbered wrong.
Yeah, it's one or
That's a
the
good
other.
One or the
catch.
other.
Yeah, we'll check when Lorenda steps back in here.
Oh, wait.
And this is an item that we passed on first reading in February, and this is the public hearing that is attached to that ordinance. So Rick, do you have the proper ordinance
See,
number?
on here they go.
Yeah, that's our minutes from last
Oh,
time.
is this the, can you verify the ordinance number?
883-21.
This one says 881-21.
So the ordinance, the ordinance says 881-21.
And the agenda
Yeah, I
says,
believe the ordinance itself is 881-21.
Okay, so we'll make that correction. 881-21, public hearing. Okay, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing at this time, and we'll begin with a staff report from Rick Caroglian.
Good evening, council. Just to refresh us where we are, this is merely, since we've talked about it many times, this is an ordinance that will reflect the new FEMA maps and the date that they assigned to us of what the latest one that they were revision. There is a revision for brush. Nothing changes in our city as far as floodplains and things like that. So there's no additional flood area that's increased. It is increasing in certain areas, but not for brush.
Okay.
And so this is just updating the date and the map numbers that it's referencing. So that's really it.
Okay, so this map update includes more than our area.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All
And it's a
right.
requirement for municipalities to go by the FEMA maps. And so there's consequences if we don't update our system. There's
Absolutely.
insurance consequences and everything else. So we're in good standing because of the way that we proceeded. And we have until May 18th. That was the deadline that this gets authorized. So everything is set, and I've even verified with the FEMA counselors and representatives that there's no change within our city, and they've all concluded there's no change. And I've actually printed out those emails just to save, to make sure.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. Any questions of staff on the issue? Okay. With that, I'll go ahead and open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody who would like to speak on this issue, now would be the time. Nobody? Okay. All right. Are there any final questions that council has before we close this public hearing? Okay. Okay, with that, I would look for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion to close the public hearing. Do we have a second?
Second.
Dana, second. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Counselor Spradlin,
Yes.
Counselor Gorell,
Yes.
Counselor Lundstrom,
Yes.
Counselor Stroud,
Yes.
Counselor Sherman,
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes. Okay, with that, I'll declare the public hearing now closed, and we'll move on to 5B. Ordinance number, we'll also make the correction there, 881-21, second reading, and I would look for a motion on this ordinance from council.
I move that we approve ordinance number 881-21, an ordinance amending various provisions of the Brush Municipal Code to incorporate the new flood insurance study for Morgan County, Colorado, and incorporated areas dated May 18th, 2021.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Larry, second. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Counselor Stroud,
Yes.
Counselor Spradlin,
Yes.
Counselor Lundstrom,
Yes.
Counselor Gorell,
Yes.
Counselor Sherman,
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes. Okay, moving on to finance.
I move we approve disbursements and payroll from March 9th to March 22nd, 2021 in the amount of $216,739.32.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Justin, second. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Counselor Gorell,
Yes.
Counselor Stroud,
Yes.
Counselor Lundstrom,
Yes.
Counselor Spradlin,
Yes.
Counselor Sherman,
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes. Okay, number 7, moving on to staff reports. First up, we have Rick Karoglian, Assistant City Administrator, Community Development Director.
Joan, you said I have 5 minutes? No, 2 minutes. So, department's doing really well. We were able to hire a building technician, so we're really excited. Well, I'm very excited about that. So he will continue to be taught and trained on permits, and will then begin to learn about inspections. And so I'm kind of helping him through that. We're going to do some training with him. We've been talking with other cities, kind of getting him used to things, and he's already started purchasing materials so that he can start his certification. So he starts studying for that. So we don't want to wait till 6 months in and then start. So we're going to start now. So that's a good thing. 304 Clayton Street, the projection was supposed to be today for them to be done. Joanne has never believed that date from the beginning. But they're close. So they said realistically this week. They still have quite a few things to do, but they have a big crew in there. So that's exciting. It'll be myself, the building technician, Dale Colwick will move in there. Is Dale here? He's not. He'll be the.
You're right.
Oh, that's what I thought I saw him. He was back here.
You looked right at it, too.
I know, I did a quick one, didn't see Dale. He just blends in. So Dale, we'll have our special projects guy there. And some of the water guys will transition over there temporarily, and then we're gonna start some sprucing up the water building, painting and some, just to update it some. And so they'll be in our building temporary, so now there's this rush to get ours done. So that's a good thing, excited about that. Working on just other projects, and so have quite a few interest right now with the agri-park. So really excited about that right now. We've got a potentially big developer that's would coordinate with some similar business that's over there. So I can't disclose yet, but it looks great, and he's contacted me many times, and he can tell he's done his research because it would complement what we're doing. And then we're having some other smaller type businesses that would also complement the need surrounding our current businesses too. So I'm excited about that. The downtown seems like there's a lot more buildings have been purchased, so you're seeing businesses come in. So we're looking good, but that's all I have. Any questions? No.
All right, thank you, Rick. Next up, Chief of Police Derek Boss.
Good evening.
Hello.
What's up, Chief? A couple things real quick. We have one of our trainees is wrapping up training this coming week, so he'll be out on his own next week, which is great for us. That'll really help with our schedule. We have one in the academy, and we have an offer out. We're working on a background check for him. So right now, the only opening we have is a part-time CSO position to complement Lisa Lebsock. I would encourage you to look at the library's Facebook page. We had some great press there for the police department, and that's growing. There are a lot of other libraries reaching out to our library saying, hey, how does this work? How do you guys get along with the cops? This is great, what can we do? So I'm working with Laura McConnell on probably some sort of a presentation for library groups and library associations. So great for brush. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's all I got.
All right.
I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't want to beat a dead horse, but did we ever get the last piece of, weren't we waiting on something for that last tornado siren? Are they going to be ready to go for?
That is finished.
It's all
That's
done?
completely done.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Very good.
So it's automated system, it's up and running, and every once
And
in a
they
while.
are louder. It
Yes.
does seem like they're louder.
Yep. So
Cool.
every once in a while, the system updates, but that's it.
Cool. Thank you.
Severe weather, bring it on.
Wow, we're ready now.
That's not wood. Okay, thank you. All right, next up, Dale Colwick, Director of Public Works.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just a couple items. As you may have heard, spring cleanup at this point is being postponed until probably June or July. We sincerely apologize about that. However, the county is being very cautious with what airspace they still have and their capacity with their existing landfill cell. And they are in the process now of constructing a new one. It's my understanding they got the equipment mobilized out there, so they'll be working on that. But I've been told that it'll probably be ready around June or July. So Fort Morgan is about the last one to duck in there before they decided not to allow any spring cleanup. So there's a few of us out there that still will not be able to do it. They're also restricting some of the larger loads as well, as my understanding, just so they can conserve on space. They're just being very cautious with that. So hopefully they'll begin soon.
Okay, cool.
So as soon as we know a little bit better about what time, when we're going to do this, we'll get on it.
And then can we make sure we publish soon about letting people know that we're going to be delayed on that?
Yes, I believe that we're going to look and putting it out on Facebook and try and get it out there on the website. It's already out.
I think it's already out.
Oh, good.
So that's what I'm saying. You may have already heard this, but that's the reasoning, because they're running up a capacity issue here. So.
Okay.
The second thing is with the heavy wet snows that we've had, with those immediate cold freezes right afterwards, have gotten up underneath some of our seal coat areas. And so you've seen a lot of these little mini potholes popping up, little divots everywhere in the roadways. And so We did have a supply chain issue with some cold patch to get in there to help smooth those out until we can actually get some other equipment in, or until asphalt plants actually open up and get ready to go again. So again, if you see something, please let us know. You can get on the website and say, hey, you know, we got something bad forming over here. Anybody can let us know that we can get over there and get it taken care of. But we are working on it. It was just several circumstances, all one right after another. And I believe that's it, other than I'm here.
All right, any questions? Okay, thank you, Dale.
No, I just think it's great because I'm not ready for spring cleanup, so, you know, it works. Just to benefit me, of course.
All right, next up, Joanne Gosling, Finance Director.
I just have one quick item this evening. At the last council meeting, I had reported that our server was down. As of Friday afternoon, we did get it back up and running again, and so now people can access the online bill pay again. And that proved to be probably our biggest inconvenience in that 3-week period, was that online bill pay. But it's up and running. It took that auto payout almost immediately after it came up.
It
so-
did, mine did. I was glad to see
Yes.
it.
Which I was thankful for that. And they did
Yeah.
assure me that those, if they'd happened to come in and pay and we didn't catch them because their auto pay didn't go through, that it would stop them and not double take their payment. But if
Right.
it is, for some reason, have somebody that it took a double payment, I will refund back, or they can keep a credit for a month. But it is up and running.
Good, that's good to hear. Thanks, Joe. Next up, Lorenda, Packard, City Clerk.
I don't really have anything to report tonight, but just to let you guys know that I'll have a couple emails coming out to you within the next couple days, so watch for those.
All right, thank you. Dan Krob, City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Sorry I couldn't be there tonight. I am working on the small cell stuff, and every time I think I'm ready to click send, I look at your code and realize that something I drafted conflicts with something else in your code, so I apologize for the delay, but I'm working on that and trying to get it to you as quick as I can.
All right, thank you, Dan. Next up, Monty Therese, City Administrator.
Okay, a few quick updates for council. One is, we did submit for that DOLA grant for the fire training facility and the site improvements out there, so we're pretty excited about that. Had an initial phone call with the grant writing team here, and then with the DOLA staff, and they had a few more questions for us in that meeting. And it's gonna be an administrative process this year, and I'm not sure if it's due to the COVID or if it is just because of the large number of grants being applied for. And so we have a little more information to send forward. Okay, and then I've got a little bit of information I've got to get to them here pretty quickly, but they're going to make administrative decisions if they're going to fund it or not. I think we've got a pretty good, solid case for it, so we'll see how that plays out. Along with that grant, what makes your grants a little stronger is if your local energy industry contributes to the project. So I did reach out to Xcel Energy, had a meeting with them about a week and a half ago, and did request for assistance, donation towards that project. So we'll hear back from Xcel Energy. They sent me an email today saying that they got the right people identified who they need to ask that question of. So they said, stay tuned. So I'm waiting, hopefully to hear some positive news from that. Also here in town, we have the CPP and the Brush 4D facility. They're also energy industry, so reached out to them via email and waiting to hear back to see if they might be able to donate to the project as well. Those are all things that make our application a little bit stronger, so hopefully they will contribute, and we'll see what happens with that.
Is there a certain number, Monty, or?
Certain dollar figure?
Yeah, or just a contribution period?
We're not given like a target to get, but anything that we show on paper. So last time with the fire department building, the bay expansion, we had, not from Xcel, but we did have from the Manchi facility, which I believe now might be Xcel owned. And then there's also the local guys here in town, they donated to it as well. $10,000, $12,000 maybe.
I guess close to 5,000, 7,500 or something.
Somewhere around there. Yeah, so it wasn't a huge contribution, but it was some contribution, so it made our application a little bit stronger. So hopefully we'll get some good news. from those. I was gonna point out that Lorenda, Dale, and Joanne, they've been working on our IT updates, which includes our telephones, new telephone system, and also some of the equipment that we need inside the building, because we have the 1 gigabyte coming in, but our wiring and some of the equipment, we need to upgrade that so that we truly do have all the capabilities of that 1 G. 1 G, right? GB. 1 GB. So we're excited. It's taken a while, but part of it was just, there's some learning curve on our end just to learn more about IT and the terminology. But then each of the companies that we responded to, there was a series of meetings just to understand exactly what we were buying. And so Rodine is who was selected. And I don't know the exact timeline, but Lorenda's coordinating that. We're going to have a kickoff meeting and talk about what the steps are going to be. But I'm hoping the next couple, 3 months for sure, we'll be all set up and running. High-speed internet.
Will there be any difference in what residents see when they call in with our new telephone system? Will it be seamless as far as when they call in?
It should be crystal clear as
Okay.
far as what we have here.
But no difference in how they reach different departments and that sort of thing?
Once we set up the system, we'll learn more about it.
Okay.
Because every phone system is a little different.
Pardon me?
Yet to be determined.
Yet to be, okay.
Now, I mean, there probably is going to be the option of everything electronic, you know, where you
Yeah.
push one to reach whoever.
Yeah, that's what I was
Or
wondering.
you could call the front desk and then they transfer you. And so that's the way we do it now, is transferring. But I always remember one of the Front Range communities, they did a survey and they asked the people, what would you like? And they said, well, we don't want to hear an electronic voice, you know.
Right, that's
We
what I-
want it, they said, we want to hear a person's voice to transfer us.
Yeah.
So they switched their whole system, and then 6 months later, they start getting feedback. We don't want to hear a human voice.
Oh, is that right?
We want to just push a button. We don't want to talk to anyone else. So they switched it back. So,
Okay.
so we'll figure out how we're going to do it this next round, and I
Okay.
don't know if it makes that much of a difference, but.
Whichever one you choose is going to be the wrong one.
Yes.
Would you consider having a survey?
Huh?
Would you consider having a survey?
Yeah, if you guys want to go through the process of a survey, we can, but I don't know if it.
I think with the human voice, you end up talking to it, and then you're talking to yourself before you realize you're talking to a.
Oh,
For
true.
calling in.
The comments I get is that they like that when they call the city of Brush, they get a
Talk to them.
person.
Yep.
And they
I
know they're
think
going
that's-
somewhere rather than
Yep.
leave a message and somebody get back to you whenever.
I think it's much more personable.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say
Let 'em
that.
get through the numbers, I just hit 0 right when the computer starts talking and it goes to
Yeah.
the operator, 'cause
Yeah. Anyway, just, yeah, they drive me nuts. I hate
Okay.
So, more information to come on that. Water projects, we're working on a couple different possible projects, and we'll keep you updated on those as we go along, but nothing new to report at this time. We're also tracking some of the new CARES Act funding or stimulus funding. There's a portion of it that's supposed to come directly to municipalities. We heard that it could be a pretty large sum of funding coming our way. We haven't got anything concrete yet, but we're going to keep reaching out through DOLA and through CML to see if there's an actual accurate list of the funding to be brought into the community. And once we get that, we'll strategize a little bit on the use of the funds, but we'll bring that to council with some recommendations.
Okay.
We are going to start here pretty quickly, because if this funding comes in, there's possibilities of maybe helping with our daycare situation. So we're going to do a little research on daycares, and we're really trying to find some interested parties local that have always wanted to start a larger daycare, and can the city work with a private entity to get one started up and try and resolve a lot of the daycare needs in the community, because Rick is working hard on bringing in more businesses. More businesses mean more people means more kids, and if they gotta work, they gotta have a place for the kids.
That's
to stay.
right. Yeah, it's
So-
critical.
So you can't do one without the other.
Are you thinking something comparable to Evans Early Childhood in Fort Morgan?
Yeah, it could be something along those lines. Kind of curious to see how the school district's daycare program's gonna work out, but if I gathered it correctly from Dr. Wilson, they're gonna probably load up most of those spots with kids from the teachers or the school staff first, and then maybe open it to some type of lottery for the remaining spots. But if they open up, then that might
Yeah.
open up other daycares around the community, like home daycares. And maybe that helps enough where we don't have to have a large daycare, but maybe we can build a reasonable size one and be able to add on later. So
I'd like to talk to you more about that, if we can just remember to take that offline. I used to be a licensed provider here in town.
okay, super. Okay, sounds good. That's all I've got until work session.
All right, thank you, Monty.
I have one other thing.
Yes, Rick?
So just to keep you aware, this Thursday evening, we have a Board of Adjustments. And so we have 2 applications that have been submitted to me for building permits. Our code doesn't allow what they're asking, and so it's more of adjusting on some things, and some are a little bit different, but that will be this Thursday. So we haven't had one of those meetings in a long time, but it does affect a lot of other things of how the outcomes for those, so just to be aware of it.
Oh, one thing I
Is it
wanted to mention, Rick, when we talked earlier about it, we lost Harry Rieger
Yeah.
on the adjustment board, which took us down to 3, which we can run with 3. My guess is that you wouldn't want me to bring a 4th person on so that you could have a 2-2 tie. Would you rather have, if we make, the number of that committee is at 5, or do you know?
Yeah,
for
it
sure?
was at 5.
So you would probably like to get 2 appointments on the board to keep it at an odd number in case you have a split vote?
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. Someone else had,
Oh, is that a public meeting, or?
It is. It's a public hearing. Yep.
okay. All right, thank you. Okay, moving on to mayor and council reports. Does council have anything to report tonight?
I got to go to the Morgan County Cattlemen's Calcutta on Saturday. That was really interesting, something I'd never been to. I know nothing about cattle. But I did find out, and I don't want to say this on the record and misquote it, there are some new scholarship opportunities that they're offering. So you might if anybody's interested in that, contact the Cattlemen's Association and see what those possibilities are.
Okay.
And the turnout for the pro meat barbecue at High Plains was big. So that was neat to see. So
Now, that's the one that was at Drover's?
no, that's at High Plains Cattlemen's.
So there was 2 different, okay.
Yeah.
And that was
I didn't-
confusing, because they were both on the same flyer.
Right,
thought.
I saw.
The one at Drover's, I think, was bigger.
Yeah,
But I thought they might have been doing an auction the same day, so I didn't know if all
Yeah.
that, there was
They
a
had a
lot
hay
of
auction
people
at
there.
the same.
Right, and the Baptist Church
Also did
also did a big
Yeah.
meet-in day, so that was great
Logan
to see.
County had a huge one.
Mhm.
I had
So
to
it
go
was-
to Yuma that day, and Akron had a good-sized one, and Yuma had a massive one too, in that little park they have there with that little pond.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was,
lot of
it
support.
was exciting to see
Yeah,
that many people come out to support it,
yeah,
so.
it was good.
We had somebody come to Livestock Exchange. I don't know where they were from, but they were dressed way too nice to be from here. I don't know if they came from Denver, but they walked around like they were lost, and they were like, "We came out here to support you guys and wanted to
Yeah.
find a burger," and they had their masks on, and so they obviously weren't from here, but but it was nice of them to make their
Absolutely.
way over here from wherever
Yeah.
they were from to eat our beef.
Yes. Okay, I have one thing I want to report. CML Executive Board, one thing the legislature is looking at that troubled me greatly, and the chief would probably know about this, is the jail depopulation bill, and I don't know if you've heard anything about it, but CML typically takes positions on bills that impact municipalities, and at our executive board meeting, I tried to wrangle an opposed vote for that bill, but the executive board decided to go with an opposed unless amended position. And I didn't want to tie the hands of CML's policy advocates to try to go to sponsors of the bill and try to water this bill down or try to help. But my main concern with this bill is it will make certain level 4 and 5 felonies unarrestable in Colorado. So they won't be arrested for level 4 and 5 felonies, some level, if they don't include violence. And I think it sends a terrible message as far as public safety that we're not going to be arresting people that we used to arrest for these crimes. And what we would do instead is it would be similar to a a summons, like a traffic ticket.
Can we get some clarification on what those level 4 and 5 felonies are?
What's a good example of them?
Chief, can you speak to that? Please come up.
I'm pretty passionate about this one, so thanks for letting me talk. Level 4, level 5, level 6 felonies, good examples of that. Burglary, somebody breaks into your home, they get a ticket, unless there's violence involved.
Does that include if they have a weapon or
If they have
whether
a
they use
weapon,
it or not?
that's maybe different, but we don't know.
Okay.
Depends how you define violence. Carrying a gun, is that violent?
There's intent.
Is there intent? So those are all questions we don't have answers to. You resist the police, felony eluding, all that, it's just a ticket. Auto theft, it's a ticket. Also in this bill is provision where, right now, if you're on probation and you violate probation, you go to jail. Takes that away. So the question is, what's the penalty of violating probation? You violate probation, okay. Now what? And there's not really any teeth there. So it is very concerning. It removes bail, so most arrestable offenses, say it is a violent crime, misdemeanor, low-level felony, it's PR bond. So you come in, you get fingerprinted, you go out the door almost as fast as a ticket. Looking at New York City, they implemented this about a year ago, and they're calling to change because it's out of control. Violence has gone up, I think, 67, 68%. I just read that the other day, so I'm probably not right on the number, but they've seen a huge increase in violence there. And what happens is your criminals are bold. I mean, there's no penalty, so why not commit the crime?
Can I just ask sorry, go ahead.
What's the thought process behind it? Why do they think this is a good idea? Why would they?
Jails are too full.
I don't know why they think it's a good idea.
I can speak to that a little bit. We talked about it on the executive board. During COVID, several sheriffs and jails weren't, in order to protect inmates from getting COVID, and we've experienced a problem with this over the past, 6, 8 months?
About a year.
About a year.
About a year.
Like since last March, right?
Yes, sir.
The sheriff has not been taking as many prisoners. So we could have a warrant on someone, and the chief has to call up there to see if there's room in the jail. And I understood that for a long period of time because you want to keep people safe. But at a certain point, I think we're risking the public's safety, and we're favoring the COVID inmates not getting COVID over the public safety, and I think that's a problem. And I think right now the sheriff is taking in, we just got a letter about that this week, 72 inmates, which is about half.
I think it's about 2/3, but I'm not positive.
Okay, and the CML Executive Board said the idea that some legislatures in Colorado saw was that we were really not arresting a lot of people during this last year, and they thought it was a good idea, and jail is not the best answer. I don't understand the reasoning. I think crime should be punished.
Have they not seen the increase in crime since they stopped arresting people?
If I could jump on that one real quick.
Yes.
So statistically, it's kind of hard to track that there has been crime increasing because we've had to file charges through the DA's office when we can't take them to jail. So the DA, it doesn't count as a crime stat until the DA files the charges. So there is definitely a lag time there. So you can look and say, well, July we had no violent crime. But those charges were filed in October or December or now. So we're still catching up from that. So it does look in some respects like there was lower crime. That's because charges weren't filed yet. So there's definitely that disparity. Another big piece of this is with the Black Lives Matters movement. They've come in and said that cash bond is a unfair, inequitable penalty towards poorer people, different ethnicities, different races. So by eliminating cash bond, now you have equal playing field for all. And that's the other strong argument for getting rid of bail and bonds.
That brings me back to my question.
Yes, ma'am.
Bonds are usually set based on the offense, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So however much it is, whether it be very large or very small, is based on what you did. So taking it away takes away that measure of control. Sure, we set it out, maybe they were set on a PR bond to begin with. Maybe that's how they were. So you can go in, get fingerprinted, and you can leave because the crime wasn't that great. But if they're set at like a $50,000 bond, that's probably not a person we want getting ready to leave anyway. So, I mean,
Correct, and right now with our existing system, we can call a judge and say, look, here's what happened, we would like a higher bond or a lower bond based on the circumstances. So the judge has discretion to say, well, yeah, a lower bond is appropriate or a higher bond's appropriate. This would take that away from the judge. So the judge wouldn't even have the discretion to say, I'm going to impose or a greater or lesser bond.
good God.
So it does definitely make it more difficult, so.
Yeah, and going back to CML's official position on this was oppose unless amended. Like I say, when we talked about it, I thought, I don't want to tie the hands of those policy advocates to go to the sponsors of the bill and say, look, we have all kinds of problems with these things. I said, I'd like to see felonies completely taken out of that we should still jail for felonies. That should be serious crime. And so they went and they flatly rejected taking felonies off the table. So what they gave instead was very limited, I think they said, well, for cash bond, if someone is skirting the law 3 times, then we can have them have to be bonded out. But the amendments that they got were so minimal that I didn't think that CML would then change their position, but they did. They earned some amendments, and how it works, I'm learning a lot about it, but the ACLU is pushing this. The ACLU gave CML a couple of very minor adjustments to that bill that I didn't think made it palatable to me as sitting on that executive board. But if we accept those amendments, the board is required to change our position from oppose unless amended to neutral. So that's what they did. They changed it to neutral, and they sent out that word, and I thought we still had the ability to oppose this bill if we didn't like. And so I think it sends a terrible message, because now the ACLU will use that neutrality to say, hey, the municipalities are okay with this bill. And so I sent a letter yesterday, in fact, asking CML to reconsider the position we're taking, and happy to report that 5 other executive board members felt the same way and call for a special meeting that will be held on Wednesday to talk about possibly changing CML's official position, because I just think it sends a terrible message to say we're neutral on a bill that is going to favor criminals over law-abiding citizens. So hopefully there's more to come on that, because they're going to use it against it if we don't. They're going to say we have no problem with it. So anyway, more to come on that. I'll update people later. With that, if there's nothing else, I'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting, and we'll move into our work session. We have 4 subjects up for discussion. Thank you, Chief, for your input on that.
Thank you.